and sound settings. Let's just have a quick look at what we did in the last part. So we've created a very simple system where we can move around with mouse clicks and then fire on the object, which will then disappear. But we of course want to start adding some sounds into the game. I don't believe I have any sounds prepared for this, but let's just create some basic sounds. What was the program called? Oh, there you go. So I have this little program here, which basically allows you to make very simple sounds. So we will be using that to create temporary sounds for this project. There we go, like this. So all we really need is some kind of a shooting sound that doesn't hurt the ears. There we go. We've got one. I think that will be good enough for this. So what we're looking at is now saving it. And let's just export it to the desktop. Wait. Let's actually get a second one in as well while we're at it. Sure, let's save it as that. And let's get some explosion sounds as well. Okay, let's go with that one. Let's save to disk. There you go, like this. No, wrong. Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So what was it called? The effects? I need to open it again. So yeah, quick making of sounds. Where are we? Let's open up the program again, and we're just gonna retrieve that music sound. So load from disk, desktop, explosion sound, and then export. And it's gonna be our explosion. There we go. Now that we have the sounds, all we have to do is just go and create a new folder. So let's create an audio folder in the project. Audio. And just drag in the 3 sounds that were created for this project. There we go. With this, we have ported the sounds into the project successfully. And all we have to do, 1 second. And all we have to do is implement it into the project. So if we open up some of the code, let's have a look. So first, let's try the collision. So if we go to the enemy script, where are we? Where is it in the bullet? Let's just open up Visual Studios and see where the collision happens. And what we want to do is at the collision point, we want to set the sounds to trigger. Okay. Where do we have the there you go. So here we have a take damage script. So this is one place where we could technically put it. But I believe there is also this place, which is on the bullet collision. Now, when we are going to play the sound, well, the object is going to be disabled soon after we play the sound. So that means it will technically cancel out the sound. So I believe it would be best to have sound not attached to any of the objects rather than instead having some kind of a sound manager which handles the audio instead. Yeah. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to create an empty object and we're going to call it the sound manager like this. And let's create a new script and call it play sound manager. Capitalize on the M. Let's open it up. So since this class will have to be accessible by other classes to play the sounds properly, we will need to create a static instance to this class. So let's create a public static player sound manager. And let's call this instance. Now in the awake function, we will just do instance is equal to this. And that's good enough. We don't need to do anything else to the instance. So this is accessible like so. And then the next part that we want to do is we want to have some kind of function to play sounds and something that will store the sounds. So in order to play sounds, you need this thing called a what's it called? A clip source, audio source. So it looks like this. Let's have a look. Audio source, like so. And because it's going to be a 2D project, we can change all of the settings from 3D to 2D. Where are we? Spatial blend set to 2D, reverb is on mix to 2D again, because there is no 3D attached to this project. Like so. And now we have the audio source attached. So let's get reference to this by doing private audio source. And let's call this our source and just by default nullify it. So this is the audio source used for playing sounds. And now that we have this, we can then simply put call in the sound like this. So we can create a public function called play sound. Hello, Cager, good morning. Like so. And then this will play the sound, and we play the sound by simply doing source dot play like this. And with this, we can play the source from either of the positions. So where are we? So in here, this is where the enemy dies. So this is where we're going to play our sound right before. So this spawns the power up. We don't care about that. But what we do want is set up our play sound maker to perform the action. So we're just going to do a play sound manager dot instance dot play sound, and this allows us to play sound. But of course, we haven't set any sounds to play in the first place. So let's fix that and add our explosion sound to this. And let's see how that's going to work when we test the project. Oh, one thing that we didn't do is we have play on awake, so the sound played as soon as I press start, and that's something that we need to change. How are you doing, Cager? And now if I move to the side, we get an error. And the error we get is, what do we have here? Play sound on instance dot play sound. Oh, that's right. So what we didn't do is we didn't attach the script at all. So let's fix that by adding the script. And now that the script is added, we actually do need the source dragged into the source section. So let's play it one more time. And move the object to the side. And we heard the sound. Now, let's try adding a second sound into the game for every time we shoot with our player bullet. What do you mean it's like a blizzard? Okay, so where do we fire bullets? So if we select the player object, we will see that we have a script called player shooting, and this is where shooting takes place. So basically every time we spawn the bullet, we want to play the sound of firing the bullet. Or actually, we'll create a new function because spawn bullet is a virtual function, and that means that it's getting overwritten with enemy fire as of now. Now we ideally want enemies to do some kind of a sound as well. So we would ideally want to make a new function for now for this. So let's make a private void and let's call this the shooting sound like this. And in shooting, we'll just call shooting sound before we, or actually after we spawn the bullet, we'll just call shooting sound like this. And in shooting sound, we'll do the exact same thing. So we'll do play sounds dot instance dot play sound like so. Now, of course, there's going to be one big problem with this function right now. And the problem is that we only have one source with a predetermined sound. So we're getting the explosion instead. Of course, what we could do is we could change this function to change the clip. So what we could have here is we could have an audio clip, and we could call this clip. And then what we could do is before we play the source, we could just do source.clip is equal to the clip to the one that we pass. But that, well, that still means that we'll only have one single audio source in the project. Wow, you have snow, that's cool. I haven't seen snow in ages. But so ideally we would want to change the code a little bit to have multiple sources, but we would still want to have something that allows us to modify the clips when we play them. So first, let's start off by doing the first solution. So this allows us to play a specified sound to the specific source. Now, another thing that I want to do is I kind of just want to move this out of the place because it's just in the way. So let's do it like this. So now we have, this just takes less space and it does the exact same thing. But the thing that we're going to change is we'll create a lot of child objects inside of this sound manager. They'll be all empty game objects, but they will all have the audio source attached to them. So now we can remove this source from here. And now, of course, we get missing source error, but that's okay because what we're going to do is we're going to convert this into an array. And this will allow us to store multiple sources that will play various sounds throughout the project. And because this is an array now, that means we need to pass some kind of a number in that will identify what kind of a sound this is. And the easiest way to do it for the player to understand is to create a thing called enum. So let's create a public enum and let's call this a sound name like this. And then below we'll do, well, actually let's populate it first. So the sounds that we need an explosion, we need player, fire for now, and well, let's just do a button click. So button click will trigger every time we play a button. Player fire will trigger every time we fire as a player, and explosion will trigger every time we explode the enemy. So now that we have this, let's create a public sound name and name of sound. This is to complete the enum structure. And what we're going to do is we will here just use the sound of the enum to play. Like this. So with this, we are essentially setting up the entire enum to play as it should. But that also means that we have to set up what this is prior to that. So what we're going to do is, if we go back to our, where are we, to the enemy. Now, rather than doing this, we will do player, where are we? So we'll do player sound dot instance, and we'll do dot. And what we're looking for is the name of the sound, and we'll make it equal to explosion. Single equals. And let's just copy this over to player shooting. And here we will replace this from explosion to player fire, like so. Now with this done, the entire structure should work as intended. So let's do our explosion, player fire, and finally we need the button click. So all of them have audio clips. Here we have our source controller. So let's add in all of our new sources in here, like so. And finally, let's add in a clip pair audio. So let's attach explosion here, player sound in, I guess, in here. And for the button click, we're just going to leave it as empty because we are not going to be adding this today regardless. So let's see how it works. Sound is quite annoying to hear, but it actually works as intended. One thing that I didn't do is disable on awake. Yeah, I'm gonna change to the other sound. Maybe it's less annoying to listen to. Let's give this a try. Yeah, the sounds will need changing in the future, but it's good enough for now. So yeah, with this, I believe everything is set up correctly on this side of things. So now let's create sound control for our options. Where are we? So we have sound manager. Let's just move it out here. And in our pause menu, we'll need to do some changes to the code. Actually, let's quickly pop into the main menu scene. Oh, okay, so saving is not set up yet. That's fine. Let's think about it. What would be the best way to do this? Do I just put it in a pause? Yeah, let's put it in a pause. Why not? So in level manager, let's open up this script right here, and let's add in two new variables. So first one's going to be private boolean, and this is going to be is music, and then the second one is going to be is sound. Now we're not going to set them on start because they will be loaded in later from our save system. But essentially what we want to do is we want to make them gettable. Where are we? Did I create both of them? Yeah, I did. So we want to be able to get both of these, and we need an instance to this class, which already exists. And finally, we need a way to set them. So public void set sound, and we will need a public void set music. And if we go and open up our pause menu, we actually do have a canvas which was probably disabled. Yeah. So in the canvas here, all we're going to do is temporarily add two sets of toggles. I probably want to get rid of the vertical layout group for now. Actually, where are we? Toggle, toggle, toggle. Yeah, it's good. Looks a bit off. Where are we? Hello? Okay. Did I do it the wrong way around? Yeah. So 1 second. I just need to play around with this text for now. And now that I have this, there we go. Now let's scale up the toggle a little bit. Where's the actual toggle itself? Okay, it doesn't have to look pretty for now, as long as it works. So let's just change the text. So we'll have sound. Let's change the color so it actually matches. And let's just duplicate it for now So this one's going to be toggle music, toggle sound. How much have I been streaming for? 20 minutes. And let's just rename the second one for now. I need to start hurrying up because I don't have much time left. Okay, so what we will essentially do now is we will link the buttons with our script here. So essentially what we need to do is we actually have to expand on the start. So later on we will have load from the save settings. But for now we'll just do sound and music. But for now what we're going to do is we are going to have an reference to the toggles as well. And we will just copy the toggle state to be the same as our booleans. So let's create a new, actually I want to move these guys around. Sets whenever sound and music is off or on. Checks whenever the game is paused. There we go. So let's just do a private toggle and let's just do a music toggle and sound toggle. I'm gonna set them as null by default because we are serializing it, and that means the compiler will consider it as an error. One quick break. Okay, sorry for this, I'm back. Okay, anyway, so what were we doing? Yes, so we created toggles. So now let's assign the toggles to our script. So let's go into the manager, level manager, and now we have two empty areas in our pause menu script. So let's attach the music toggle to the music and the sound toggle to the sound. Where are we? So now let's open up the script, and what we will essentially do is, this is probably the easiest thing to do, which is, where are we? So our music toggle is dot of, I believe. I actually don't remember. What can I? Oh, there we go. Is on is equal to, where are we? Is equal to is music, the low one. And now for the next one, which is going to be the sound toggle, dot is on is equal to is sound. So we're basically synchronizing the local variable to the state of the toggle. 5 minutes? 10. Okay. And these functions will be used to check whenever or not the toggle has been triggered. So if we look here, we have a on value changed. And what that means is that if the value will change, then this function here will be called. And by value change, it means when we trigger the toggle. So let's select both of them. Let's drag in our level manager. And for now, I'm just going to select that. And I'm going to change that one to what it should be, is music. So let's just double check to see if this works. So we'll do a debug.log and we'll do the sound was set. And we'll do the exact opposite with the other one. The music was set, like so. And let's give this a play. Okay. Alright. So now let's pause the project and click. There you go. So it actually does work, which is great. And that just means that all we have to do is set the music to the reverse of where it currently is and update the toggle, or just run this again in here. So all we have to do here is, where are we? And let's just make these two serializable, so we can verify that the values are indeed changing. And rather than doing this in here, or we can just call set sound and set music in here to avoid replicating the same line of code over and over. So let's quickly test if this works. So let's select our level manager, currently it's set to false. We click the button here. Now we click. Oh, and it doesn't let us click, which is interesting. So that means we do indeed have a problem. Wait. Oh, that's right. This is actually wrong. That was silly of me. So the toggle is being set to what the sound it currently is, but that's not what we should do. We should be the other way around, actually. So our sound should be set to what the toggle is, not the other way around. That was silly of me to do. There you go, like this. So basically, just need to reverse the order. And in here, at the start, we do have to do this the way we had it previously. So on start, we basically check what the toggle is before we do it, and then later it's the other way around. I don't know why I got this confused. So music toggle dot is on is equal to music toggle, and then of course later this will be replaced by loading, and then sound toggle is on is equal to sound toggle. There we go. Now it should work fine. So let's give this a play. Oh, the sounds are so annoying. I really hate them already. I think actually I'm just going to quickly make them extremely quiet so I don't have to deal with the pain of this awful sound. Where are we? A volume, set it at something minimal, just so we can test the sounds rather than actually having to struggle with them. There we go, better. Okay, so the toggle's there, we click it, and let's click on the, where are we, level manager. Okay, so there we go. We are updating the buttons accordingly to our little button script, although it's not being set properly in here. So our beginning statement is not playing the sounds, but that's fine because this section has to be edited out regardless for the saving system, and that's something I'll do for the next part. We'll be implementing the saving of the sounds and the music, loading and saving of the sounds from inside the save manager. I'll quickly show what the save manager will look like. So we'll have an empty game object. Let's call this player data, and this is where we will have the player script attached to it that I've made in the last part. And what we're going to do is we're going to populate this with our local versions of our saving. So if we quickly go and write private, it's going to be a float. So we'll have to convert the booleans to a float because we're saving everything as a float, I believe. So let's just do public float sound and private float music. And they will have to be gettable like this. And now that we have this little game object, let's make it a prefab. How much time? I have 2 minutes left. So let's see how much we can do in 2 minutes. Okay, so I dragged this object right in here. And let's go back to our game scene and make sure we do have an instance of our player data in the object. We're going to drag it across to the very top. And what essentially has to happen is we need to have an easy access to the player script. So we will make it an instance, and actually this is going to be a little bit of a different one because we will want this object to carry over across all the scenes. So let's create public static player instance, and in the awake function we'll do something slightly different. Again, 1 minute left. So we'll again do instance is equal to this. But what we also want to do is action. So first thing we do is if instance is not this, then we want to destroy this, and then else if instance is indeed empty, then we set it up as this. And then what we also want to do is don't destroy onload for this object. So we want this game object to carry on across all of the scenes, because our save data will be always present from the point we open up the game. Yeah, so that's this set up properly, and I think that's it. This is enough. That's all the time I have. So we'll be working on implementing the saving into our triggers here in the next part. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for the watch. And I'll be streaming tomorrow around the same time.